So I found out about something that I really think we need to talk about. And truth be told, it's the kind of thing that deserves its own standalone deep dive research because the more that I am reading, the more that I am realizing that there's a lot more to this story than initially meets the eye. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I am maxed out right now in terms of research, and it's a good thing. I'm thankful to have a lot of work, but I just don't have the bandwidth to take on another deep dive topic like this. But I really think that this is something that more people should know about and be aware of. And so I decided to just do an informal sit down video where I show you some of what I've been reading and I talk to you about some of my concerns. Those of you who have been on my channel before may have be pretty familiar with this setup. You might have seen it if you've ever tuned into my monthly newsroom analysis live stream, and I decided that it would work really, really well for this as well, just because I want you guys to see what I am seeing, and I want to let you know about this because I think this is something, especially if you have children in your life, you should be aware of is a possibility, a reality, in fact, in some places. Before we get into it, if you've never been here before, hi, my name is Beck Griffin. I have been doing independent citizen journalism work for around 5.5 years now. You can go over to my channel and see what I have been doing, what I've been researching and presenting on. This is tangentially related to it in the sense that I am predominantly concerned with human rights and particularly with issues around child safety and safety for at-risk individuals, at-risk communities. And so this does strike at the heart of my concerns, but it is not inherently a religious subject, which if you've seen my other content, you might have been coming into it expecting. This does not have anything to do with my other research as far as I know. This is just something that I kind of stumbled upon that I think people should know about. And that's kind of been the theme. That's kind of how I got here in the first place. I stumbled upon something and I thought more people should know about it because at the time, people weren't really talking about it. And so I decided to do what I could to amplify the story. And here I am 5.5 years later, still doing it and very, very thankful to be doing it. So if you're new, please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up. And like I said, if you do have children in your life or people who have children, consider sharing this with them or at least sharing my sources, which are all linked in the description down below, because it is really, really important. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. Get my browser pulled up here. This is the first article that we're going to be starting with. This was published back in March 17th of 2023. And, all disclaimers and everything out of the gate right away. Everything that I say is my opinion. Everything that is said about any specifically named individuals is alleged unless otherwise proven in a court of law. This is my opinion, my speculation, my opining, my letting you know about things that I think are a matter of public concern and that more people should know about. That is what I am here to do. I am not here to play judge, jury, or priest for anyone. I am simply here to encourage you to engage critically with the world, go into the world with your eyes open, and to promote education for all, because we really need more of it right now. So anyway, this headline, this is the first one. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to reader view, but like I said, it was published March 17th, just so I don't have to deal with the ads. But the headline says Boise Junior High social workers' inappropriate conduct with student was kept secret. How? Social worker at a Boise Junior High School was accused last year of engaging in an inappropriate relationship with a student in their early teens. The social worker died by suicide after police began investigating a tip about the relationship. So that's really interesting. After just getting a tip that there might have been some type of a relationship between this individual and a student, that individual took their own life. In the wake of his suicide, city prosecutors have charged the school's former principal with failing to report an allegation of child abuse for months. The school district and school officials have not told parents of the alleged inappropriate relationship. Several parents interviewed by the Idaho Capital Sun said the district's public response to the situation so far has been to move the former principal into an administrative position with the Boise School District. quote, "The situation has impacted many of our students, staff, and families, and we continue to provide our students and staff members with the support services they need," said Don Holler, Public Affairs Administrator for Boise School District, in an email. So this is a situation that is going to evolve and devolve quite rapidly as we are reading along. This is about the Idaho Boise School District, the city of Boise's school district in the state of Idaho. Be very, very clear about that, where this is occurring, and what is being alleged. The situation has impacted many of our students, staff, and families, and we continue to provide our students and staff members with the support services they need. I already read that. Parents told The Sun they believe the events have exposed a need for training, accountability, and transparency in the schools when it comes to boundaries between the adults and children, which should have already been a thing, in my opinion. Anytime you are interacting with children, anytime children are at all in the equation, there need to be safeguards and protocols and accountability and transparency built into the pre-existing framework that those children are placed in. And the fact that these events have exposed the need for this stuff, implying that it was not there already in the year of 2023, the modern era, is honestly really concerning to me. Really, really concerning. Boise is a very big city. I mean, not the biggest in the world, compare it to something like Los Angeles or New York or the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's on the smaller side, but it's still a major city. And there are a lot of people living here, and a lot of people have kids, and we've all seen the news in recent years, have we not? Those of us who have come from religious backgrounds, we've seen the headlines, have we not, about what has happened to parents who have put their children under the care of individuals who were in no way, shape, or form ever qualified to have anything to do with children. And not only did they do it, they continued to do it repeatedly. We've all seen this, right? And in 2023, still a lack of transparency and accountability in a public school system, not a Catholic school, not a private school, not a, what's the other kind of schools they have in Idaho that they're really proud of? Charter school? No, this was a public school, taxpayer funded. The allegations come at a time when public school budgets are before the Idaho legislature, and a faction of Idaho conservatives have taken aim at libraries, accusing them of supplying obscene materials to minors. Lawmakers have not proposed funding or policy changes to address scenarios like what is alleged to have occurred at Fairmont Junior High and at other schools in Idaho. Okay, so this is about the Boise School District, and they are implying that there are other schools in Idaho that this is also a problem. At least 6 educators in Idaho have been formally disciplined since the start of 2022 for alleged conduct with students, including sexual assaults, sexual comments in class, and exchanging personal text messages with students. So what happened at the Boise Junior High School? Police received an anonymous tip on December 8th, 2022 that set their inquiry in motion. The tip said a school social worker, Scott Crandall, that is the name, was having an inappropriate sexual relationship with the student, as I'm assuming is redacted. This is happening at Fairmont Junior High School in Boise. I want to be clear that I do not know if this is a sexual relationship, hence the question mark that they put there, but we are concerned it is and want law enforcement to investigate, which is fair and something that should happen anytime there's any type of a concern whatsoever. Of course, I would argue that it never should have reached this point to begin with, but I digress. Crandall also said the social worker at Capitol High School Crandall also was the social worker at Capitol High School in Boise. The Idaho Capitol Sun has chosen not to include identifying information about the student because they are a minor who may have been a victim of abuse, according to court records. Christopher Ryan, the former principal of Fairmont Junior High, was charged January 11th with a misdemeanor for failing to notify law enforcement of reports made to him and or conditions observed by him that the student was being abused, the charging document says. Ryan has pled not guilty. This month he asked the Ada County judge to dismiss the case, arguing that the law he's charged with violating is unconstitutionally void because it is vague both on its face and as applied to Ryan's alleged conduct. Ryan's attorney said in a court filing this month that the Boise Police Department began investigating in early December, and by December 15th had interviewed the student's mother, Ryan, and other members of the faculty and staff at Fairmont. Police also talked with the attorney for the Boise School District on several occasions, the court filing said. Crandall died by suicide on December 17th in a hotel in downtown Boise, according to a coroner's report and other public records. That was one day after law enforcement had seized Crandall's cell phone following a traffic stop. So a report was filed, police investigation was requested, a cell phone was seized, and immediately following that, the owner of that cell phone took their own life. Doesn't seem like the behavior of an innocent person to me, although, of course, all parties are assumed innocent until proven guilty. The Boise Police Department has denied public records requests from the Idaho Capital Sun regarding law enforcement investigations into accusations against Crandall. And then it goes on to say some things about Idaho law, about reporting child abuse. State and local education leaders are taking the following actions. It says, in keeping with Idaho's tradition of local control, the state is mostly hands-off on training educators to recognize and react when a colleague appears to have crossed a boundary with a student. Well, that seems kind of like a problem to me, in my opinion, because we're talking about ostensibly a school that receives taxpayer funding, and taxpayers' children are going to the school. So the state is already like implicitly involved. Saying that they are, hands off has obviously just created the perfect recipe for disaster. The Idaho Department of Education does not require schools to train staff and educators in how to respond when they see inappropriate relationships between a colleague and a student, or how to recognize grooming patterns that can precede sexual abuse. That's bad news, guys. It says, like other school districts, Boise School has a Title IX office and a Title IX coordinator responsible for ensuring the district complies with Title IX, a federal regulation that says all staff and students in a school must be protected from misconduct and receive equal treatment regardless of gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. Well, how the hell are you supposed to be able to do that? How are you supposed to be able to ensure that any of these things are happening in accordance with a federal regulation if the state is being hands-off about how the school manages its safeguarding protocols for children? Of course, parents are questioning why Boise schools didn't disclose the abuse. That's a huge question. It says parents of two other Boise students told the Idaho Capital Sun in separate interviews that in the wake of Crandall's death, they learned that Crandall had routinely pulled their children out of class to go to his office. That is terrifying. Parents said in separate interviews with the Sun that their children told them Crandall would sometimes dim the lights so they could take naps while he worked at his desk. That is fucking disgusting. Crandall exchanged personal text messages and gave both students gifts, according to their parents. The visits to the social worker's office caused the students to miss classes, but their absences were later marked excused in the school's attendance system, both students' parents said. So, are you kind of getting an idea of what's going on here? They list some of the grooming signs, or warning signs of grooming, where an abuser has easy access to the victim. The victim may be vulnerable, such as during recovery from prior abuse, or if they come from a rough home life, maybe they're looking for somebody who's more stable because they can't find a stable adult in their own home. The abuser is someone who has contact with minors. This is really critical because people sometimes have this misguided idea of like some stranger in a white panel van that offers a child puppies and candy to like lure them away. And that's not the case. 99.9% of the time, the abuse is coming from within the home, within the institution, within the place where the children are sent and entrusted to. Abusers take advantage of that kind of thing. They try to separate the victim physically and emotionally from those who can protect them. They gain the victim's trust through gifts, attention, sharing secrets. They increase their physical contact with the victim. This is usually something that ramps up very slowly over time. And if you've read or heard any accounts from the people who were groomed by a predator, and these accounts are plentiful online. So if you have not heard one, you should go and find one and listen to a couple, because what these survivors have to say is really, really telling. And all of this stuff is represented in these accounts, in these stories from these victim survivors of predators. And the ramping up of physical contact slowly over time is a big one, especially in cases where there is a sexual aspect of the abuse. The abuser discusses sexual topics with the victim, not in an educational setting, but to introduce the idea of sexual contact, which is why you'll often read or hear about predators asking their victims really, really inappropriate questions that you should not be asking a child. It's to push that buck. It's to start introducing the concepts and to start sort of softening the victim, as it were, to the idea. It's very, very insidious. And when you're a child, you have no defense against that kind of thing. For teen victims, close relationships with adults are often normal, but red flags include secrecy, influence and control, and crossing personal boundaries. Abusers may present a trustworthy image to gain the trust of the family and the community. And you can read more about that on rain.org. They have it linked. You can read through this entire article linked down below. This was the earliest article that I could find just now when I was searching, so I wanted to start with it. But I want to jump over now to what actually first alerted me to the fact that there was something untoward going on in Idaho. So it's a video on Instagram, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to figure out how to get my microphone speaker to work so that you guys can hear the video as well. But maybe it's just as well that you can't. Again, this is linked so you can go and hear it. I'm just going to read what she is saying here. This woman, her name is Laura Bolton, I believe. We will see her name again. And she was working for the Idaho School District. And she was working for the Idaho School District and became aware of something happening with her students, for whom she cared about very much. And she ended up losing her job because of it. So I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to read what she says. Again, I'm sorry you can't hear the audio. And then you can go and watch this. So she reported abuse. They called it a ruckus. This is a podcast interview. It's like 3 hours long if you want to go and listen to the whole thing. So he asks her what happened, and she says that she became aware of what she calls, she identified it as a mathematical pattern of a ring sometime in 2024-ish, last year. And then she says, when I was suspended in 2023, I was like, this is interesting. What were you suspended for? He asks, and she says, I was suspended officially, I believe, for causing a ruckus. And he asked, what was the ruckus you caused over? And she says, well, I have 3 different versions of my suspension paperwork because they like to charge me multiple times, okay, with multiple crimes. And he said, that sounds right. And altogether, she says, I believe it was that students had come forward, shared concerns with me as a mandatory reporter. I reported them, and they weren't handled properly in a legal manner, and at all, still to this very day. And those students were upset. They came to me. Some of them were graduates, and some of them were current students. And I said, well, perhaps they could speak up. And they did, like students to the media, or, I taught my adopted children how to use their American voices, whether it was over emailing the school board. I'm very good at giving out email addresses to people to direct their voices in the right direction. And I disturb a lot of inboxes in the ivory tower, I believe, and they had to find some legal way, something in the employee handbook. Basically, I caused a ruckus. And so HIPAA was involved, and he said, I don't ever want you to give out names, but can you say, like, were the kids coming to you? What was it originally for? What were their problems? What were they confiding in you over? And she says they were sexual crimes committed against them. in the Boise School District. And then he asked how old were these children, and she said these students were at Timberline High School. And that's where the clip cuts out, but that's not where I'm going to end, of course. Like I said, this is a clip from a 3-hour interview. It's really interesting. I will link it down below as well so that you can go and watch it if you haven't seen the whole thing. But then I found this article. This is from September 26th of 2023. This is from Idaho News, and this kind of gives some more context. So this is the teacher that was just in that clip. Yeah, Laura Bolton. We're going to read this article, and it kind of gives some more context. So the headline says, Timberline High School teacher speaks out after being placed on paid leave by Boise School District. So this is Timberline High School. In the previous article, we were reading about a junior high school. So I'm not sure if the junior high school is affiliated with this Timberline High School. It's in the same school district, though. So it says a Timberline High School math teacher is speaking out after being placed on paid administrative leave by the Boise School District. Laura Bolton spoke to CBS 2 about the district's decision by phone on Monday. Bolton says she's being unfairly targeted by the district for supporting her students and being vocal in her admonishment of what she perceives as a lack of progress on their behalf. Bolton says she assisted students in reporting allegations of assault, harassment, and other abuses to the district. Bolton says she helped proofread students' letters and edited them to sound professional. She says many of the students she helped feared they would not be taken seriously if their writing made them appear childish. In one case, Bolton tells CBS 2 that she received a poor performance evaluation after helping a student file a report on December 7th, 2021. On September 14th, the district sent a letter to parents saying it placed Bolton on paid administrative leave while an investigation takes place. The letter reads in part, "The limited information we are legally allowed to provide to parents, the public, and the media often leads to the rapid spread of speculation and misinformation. While we cannot publicly address every suspicion, allegation, or complaint, we can provide the following facts regarding the current situation." So this is what the district has to say about all of this in the press. 1. Any reports of sexual harassment or assault that have been brought to the attention of the district have been investigated in accordance with federal Title IX law and district Title IX policies and procedures. Protecting students is always the centerpiece of these investigations. 2. The rumors and speculation circulating in the media about why Ms. Bolton is on administrative leave are not correct. Ms. Bolton was not placed on administrative leave for reporting acts of sexual assault and/or harassment or any other report from Ms. Bolton regarding harassment, bullying, or abuse. She was also not placed on leave for any behaviors that occurred prior to 2023. The teacher evaluation that is being circulated by a student and shared with the media outlets and social media is not Ms. Bolton's actual evaluation that is in her personal file, nor was it ever placed in her personal file. Some students and parents have protested the district's decision to place Bolton on paid administrative leave. The parent emailed CBS 2 saying she is concerned about the rotating number of substitute teachers filling in for Bolton in her absence and its impact on her child. The parent says she obtained copies of letters sent to Bolton explaining why she was placed on administrative leave. One of the letters shared by the parent, the school district said it received 6 complaints filed against the teacher. One formal complaint received today alleges that you have repeatedly undermined colleagues' academic programs, spread misinformation to students and staff, manipulated students, harassed colleagues, and preyed upon vulnerable youth for your own purposes. The second formal complaint received today alleges creating a hostile environment by retaliating against staff members and their families. The letter from the district also said, "I'm also writing to urge you to refrain from any behavior that could be considered retaliatory and the disclosure of confidential student information." The parents of 2 students have contacted the district complaining that their children are being harassed at school directly because of your behavior. Staff members have registered similar complaints. And then CBS 2 reached out to the Boise School District for a response, and they got this. It's a big old long list. They say the allegations regarding Ms. Bolton that required the district to place her on leave are unrelated to any incidents of inappropriate sexual relationships with students. They go on to basically reinstate their commitment to promoting a safe environment. As a reference in the documents provided to parents, these are part of the allegations under investigation while Ms. Bolton is on leave. One of the actions listed in the letter obtained by CBS 2 from the Boise School District to Laura Bolton in regards to her paid administrative leave cites grooming behaviors. When we requested a response from the school district, we also asked them to address that allegation directly as well and to clarify what exactly they meant by it in the letter. The allegation of grooming in this case is not meant in a sexual nature. So there's some he said, she said going back and forth at this point in time. I'm presenting both sides of it here. You can read through things too and draw your own conclusions, but it's definitely not a great situation. So we're gonna jump forward in time quite a bit. We're gonna jump from 2023 to 2025. I didn't really see a whole lot of pertinent information from 2024, so we're going to just jump to this article here, and I think it's another good place to start. This one's pretty short. This is from the city of Boise. It says BPD, so Boise Police Department, investigates reports of production of child sexual abuse material. Okay, so this thing is continuing to evolve, despite what the Boise School District said back here in their statement in regard to Laura Bolton. The Boise Police Department apparently was investigating reports of the production of CSAM, which is fucking great. The Boise Police Department, in partnerships with the Boise School District, is investigating reports of the production of child sexual abuse material. The investigation began Tuesday afternoon when Boise school administrators learned of the reported allegations and immediately contacted Boise police. Boise police officers made contact with a 22-year-old suspect, Gavin Snow, and seized his electronic devices. Upon receiving a search warrant for these devices this morning, officers found evidence of child exploitation and production of child sexual abuse materials. Just after 9 a.m. today, officers attempted to arrest Snow at home on the 5100 block of North Mountain View Drive. When police arrived at the house, Snow injured himself and died from a self-inflicted injury. No officers used any force during the contact. Snow was a special ed assistant at Valley View Elementary School in Boise. Oh, elementary school. Based on the evidence, detectives are concerned that there may be additional victims. Boise Police Special Victims Unit and the Boise School District are working with known victims and working diligently to identify any other victims should they exist. Anyone with additional information about the suspect is asked to call this number right here if you live in Boise or you live in Idaho and you know something, you can contact that number. I am reading this and I am just getting like full body chills just over and over and over again. I'm like sitting here and I'm very, very uncomfortable because this feels very, very bad to me. Like my spidey senses, my instincts, whatever, are everything in me is just screaming that there is something really, 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 really wrong here. And my biggest concern is that, well, I guess I have two. Like, two biggest concerns are that nothing is being done, the issue is continuing to metastasize, and what is happening in the Boise School District is happening in school districts all around the world. That's really just, it makes me want to projectile vomit. So here's another article. This is the suspected school abuser worked at another Boise elementary school. So this is from Friday, February 14th of 2025. So about a month or so after the Boise Police Department release that we just read. And let's see here. They learned that Gavin Snow, who was the individual that the police were attempting to arrest, he was also served as a special education assistant at Cynthia Mann Elementary School, where he coached basketball and track. He was placed on administrative leave last month after allegations surfaced that he may have been abusing special needs students at Valley View Elementary. So, remember what I had read just a little bit ago about how predators will gravitate towards places where they can find their prey? It's not really surprising to me that this individual had a history of working in child education. It's kind of par for course. So let's keep going here. I'll get back to that in a second. So this is this is the next one. This is from May of this year. Parents file $50 million child sexual abuse claim against the Boise School District. So we've gone from some allegations being made back in 2023 and a teacher being placed on paid administrative leave for what she was doing, but trying to get some type of accountability from the school district is how it appears to me. That's how I interpreted her story and her situation and everything. We've gone from that and the Boise School District and their little wordy statement that they released to now this year, just a few months ago, the Boise School District being sued for $50 million. So let's read this. It says, to protect the child's identity, the Idaho Education News is not naming the parents who filed the tort claim against the Boise School District. Seems like a good idea to me. So it says 2 parents have filed a $50 million tort claim against the Boise School District, saying a former elementary school special education assistant produced child pornography depicting their child. So this is about Gavin Snow, who took his life on January 10th of this year after police seized his phone. The same person who has a history of working in the special needs space in education with children, specifically elementary school children. Just want to keep emphasizing this because it is just so disgusting. So the tort claim was filed April 14th, that less than a week after district officials met privately with Valley View parents and publicly announced that Snow engaged in multiple instances of inappropriate behavior with more than one Valley View student. There is never just one victim. Never. And the time that they get caught is not the first time that they do something like this. In the 4-page complaint, the parents say Snow abused his position as a special education assistant, a classified post which, unlike a teaching position, does not require a bachelor's degree. So lower barrier to entry, made it easier for a predator to get access. The tort claim also accuses district and school staff of negligence, failure to properly train and supervise, failure to protect those who are most vulnerable at risk of abuse. Yeah. Total damages are currently undetermined, but not less than $50 million at the time that this article was written. It says on April 9th, the day after the private meeting with Valley View parents, the Boise School District, I'm looking at my dogs, April 9th, the day after the private meeting, the Boise School District released findings from an independent investigation and announced a series of policy changes at the school and district level. So that's great. It would be great if trauma, abuse, and scandal didn't have to occur before these things could take place, but we just don't seem to live in that kind of a world. Staff will no longer have cell phones with them while diapering or toileting special education students. Valley View has installed a phone storage box outside a bathroom used by special education students. The district will require 2 staffers to be present when a child is getting help in a bathroom. The district says it is reviewing staff ratios to ensure adequate support for this policy. The district is installing Dutch doors in Valley View and other schools to ensure a line of sight into bathrooms. Doors to a sensory room at Valley now remain open at all times. The district has added to its annual training programs to assure that staff clearly understand the requirements and their obligation to report suspected child abuse, not only under Idaho law, but also under their ethical obligations as professional educators. One day earlier, on April 8th, Roberts addressed the school community's concerns in a letter to parents and staff. Quote, our entire district administration and our board of trustees apologize for the trauma the victims and the families have suffered, as well as the confusion and anxiety felt by our entire community through this experience. So they did apologize, but I'm assuming this is still happening. We've got one more recent article to go over. Maybe that'll give us some more clues. Before I do that, though, I'm sorry, I have to step away for just one moment to deal with my dogs. So enjoy my screensaver for just a minute. All right. It is a beautiful day here. So I've got most of my dogs, 2 of my 3 outside. The other one wants to be in here with me. So I had to step away and untangle them. They were getting wrapped up in their leads. But anyway, sorry about that. Let's zoom back in here on what we were looking at. So this is the most recent article that I found. This is from August 18th, 2025. This was written by Shannon Tyler in the Idaho Statesman. Let me throw it over to my reader view real quick. It says, as tort claims add up, Boise School District faces lawsuit in child porn case. So this is somewhat of a follow-up to the article that I read previously. A lawsuit against the Boise School District says it failed to protect students from former paraprofessional Gavin Snow. Parents of a former Valley View Elementary School student sued the Boise School District Thursday over the alleged sexual abuse of their child while enrolled in a special education program. This is believed to be the first of 7 tort claims, precursors to lawsuits, filed against the district involving now deceased special education assistant Gavin Snow to reach the next stage in the legal process. In the lawsuit, which the Idaho Statesman obtained Friday, the parents allege that Snow, who worked at Valley View and Cynthia Mann Elementary Schools, sexually abused and photographed their child on multiple occasions in the school's sensory room and possibly in the classroom bathroom. The Boise police began investigating Snow on January 7th. They confiscated his electronics. He ended up taking his own life. The family's lawsuit states that on January 16th, a Boise police detective informed them that their child was one of Snow's victims. In February, the family took the child out of Valley View, stating they no longer trust the schools nor school personnel with their child's safety and well-being, according to the lawsuit. I do not blame them. The family filed its tort claim against the district in March. In an email to the Statesman, school district spokesman Dan Haller said the district would not be commenting on pending litigation, which is not surprising. The district's internal investigation outlined areas in which the school failed to adequately protect children, according to the new lawsuit. It found that Valley View Special Learning Center was understaffed, there were issues with how the school managed the sensory room, and there were not adequate policies for staff helping children who needed assistance using the bathroom. The lawsuit requests damages of at least $10,000 and attorney's costs of at least $5,000, but says actual damages should be much greater. While damages have not yet been calculated, it is expected that damages will be in excess of $1 million, the family's tort claim in March stated. The parents of the child are requesting a jury trial. The 7th tort claim regarding Snow's employment, seeking $50 million in damages, was filed June 12th. In it, the parents of a former Valley View student claimed the school did not adequately supervise Snow and did not report suspected cases of abuse, Idaho Education News reported. So that is kind of where things stand now. Just take it all in its full context. You know, we go from a teacher being suspended to the Boise School District being sued for multiple instances of child abuse. So before I close this out, I want to go over to Reddit. I really like going to Reddit, even though, you know, you still have to be careful because it is overrun with bots. I do like going over there to see what people are saying about subjects like this. A lot of the time, if you want to hear what like the locals have to say about something, you can find it on Reddit on pages like, for example, r/Boise, which is for Boise, Idaho. And we've got a few here. This is a video that was from 2023. It says, teacher suspended after reporting child sex crimes and finally speaks out. It's Laura Bolton. You can go and watch it if you want. I wanted to read through some of the comments, though. This person said, I have a lot of respect for what she's doing. I hope to hear she is vindicated and the scum removed from the high school. This is a 2-year-old post, by the way. I didn't mention that. 2-year-old post, and if you want to hear what she has to say, you can go and pull it up down below. It's 5 minutes long, and I don't think she's going to say anything that I didn't already kind of go over. But I am glad that she felt like she could speak out. And she's been, like I said, that 3-hour interview is just one example. There's also, she's done this and made multiple statements just kind of trying to be at the forefront of a positive change. And it seems like if what she was saying and if what I've read online from prior students and parents of students of hers, she is an incredibly caring, compassionate teacher who wears her heart on her sleeve and pours herself into educating these young people that come into her classroom. She takes it a step above and beyond what I think we've kind of become accustomed to here in the United States, and turns her classroom into a place of learning and a place of community, which is why those children initially felt comfortable coming out to her back in 2023 when this all, or 2021, whatever it was, when this all initially started to kind of unravel. The reason why those children felt that they could come to her was because they trusted her, because she had created a positive, safe environment in her classroom. And I just think juxtapose that with what the Boise School District was allegedly doing, has allegedly been doing. It's like you have two perfect examples of like the worst extreme and I feel like the better extreme. And I think Laura deserves to be uplifted for being such an incredible teacher, for trying so hard. I mean, I it brought me to tears, the interview that I listened to, where the 3-hour one that I mentioned, where she's talking about her relationships with her students and not being able to see them and being cut off from them and being ostracized and sort of made out to be this villain. I mean, the Idaho or Boise School District basically accused her of the same things that she was trying to raise awareness of happening within the school district, which is just dirty, dirty games. There's some really dirty stuff going on here beyond just like the obvious with the adults who are involved here. It's really, really, really disgusting. This comment 2 years ago, Claremont ex-principal covered up the sex crime of a teacher who ended up killing himself. Then, ... months later, the athletic director was arrested at the Catholic school next door for sex crimes against a minor. I believe everything she is saying. Keep your eyes on these people. They are watching their own backs. And then somebody clarified that it wasn't a teacher at this school, it was the school social worker, which is more damning when you consider the nature of education and training of a social worker is to look at how power and privilege can influence the well-being of people, particularly those in positions of vulnerability. A complete dereliction of duty, and it undermines the trust of the profession. Everything about this story undermines so much potential good, undermines education, undermines the systems that we are supposed to have in our society that are supposed to be there to help people. It hijacks them, has hijacked them completely, honestly, to the point where you cannot even trust that you're going to get help when you go to these institutions or these systems, or someone who's a part of one of these systems. You have no guarantee of anything, and the people who need it the most are the ones who are being preyed upon. It's really beyond the pale. This comment: this shit has been going on for literally decades. My mom was a special education interpreter for a blind deaf student in a different school district in the 90s when he told her he was being abused. She reported it, as she was legally bound to do. Her school administration very quickly started the cover-up, fired her on the spot, and protected the perpetrator. Her credibility was attacked because this student could only communicate via sign language, and since no one else bothered to learn sign language, she, my mom, could say he's saying whatever she wants. This whole entire system is so incredibly fucked. She needs a civil rights attorney. I sure hope she gets a good one. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through to see if there's anything else, because I have some other, okay, we'll go to the next one. I have some other posts pulled up. So this is a TikTok that was shared on r/Idaho. I'll read the caption again because I don't have a way to play the audio. I'll try to get that figured out before I do this again. But again, if you want to listen to it, you can go and find it down in the description below. But I'm just going to read what she says. So this is supposed to be the Timberline High School scandal explained. So Timberline there's a few different schools names bouncing around, so if you're getting confused, don't worry. But Timberline is the school where Laura was working. So let's see what this has to say, and maybe this will give us a good summary too. It says, "Hi Idaho, did you guys know that in the 2023 school year alone, 5 reports of sexual misconduct between teachers and students were reported just in the Boise School District. Those were just the reports that weren't potentially covered up. So let's talk about the current scandal at Timberline High School. Before I dive in, just know the story is super messed up, so trigger warning. This is Laura Bolton. She's been an educator for over 15 years. She's taught in several places around the valley, and she is currently a math teacher at Timberline High School. In 2021, Laura was approached by a student who reported that day and their peers were being sexually harassed by a faculty member. Laura is required by law to report these kinds of abuses, and the students were aware of that, so Laura followed school policy and scheduled a meeting with a proper chain of command. Because of this, Laura found herself in the hot seat with several school administrators who relentlessly berated her for not coming to them first before she followed protocol. Why they wanted to know first, we can only speculate. They also conveniently had a bunch of other reasons and baseless reports that they claim warranted an evaluation on Laura's competency as an educator. They put her through a bunch of political crap since then. I actually have a copy of the evaluation if you guys want me to do a deep dive of that. Just what you should know is that Laura had to hire something in order to protect her job, and as of last Thursday, she's officially been suspended from Timberline High School. Dozens of her former students have written emails and letters expressing their disgust with the choices of the administration as well as their undying admiration for Laura. In fact, Laura is so loved and cherished by her students that yesterday they staged and executed a successful walkout in protest of what had been happening, yet they just all left in the middle of the day. One example from this ridiculous evaluation: they actually accuse her of inappropriate conduct because she often tells her students that she loves them. According to students at Timberline High School, she also tells them she values them, that they're intelligent, and that she's rooting for them. And this is why context is important. Smear campaigns have gone as far as whispers that Laura helps her students cheat because her students outperform or perform so well in her class. There's no way she might just be a decent teacher. Since all of this has happened, a former student from Timberline High School told their story about how administrators pressured them to drop the charges regarding a sexual assault that they had endured on campus. Parents are angry, and you should be too. And just in fact, moments ago, I was forwarded this email from a parent. Pause to read. This is an email. Conduct a neutral fact-finding investigation. Administrations rarely address teacher suspensions. They're definitely feeling the heat. Okay, so how can you help? And she mentions this hashtag. You can go and read this. This is older. This is, like I said, this is an archived post from 2 years ago, but I wanted to kind of skim through that. Sorry for the awkward reading on my part, but just to see what she had to say and kind of sum everything up. And re-emphasize the fact that this was a teacher who was respected by parents, loved by students, and ostracized and basically made a scapegoat of by the Boise School District, allegedly, if what is to be said here is to be believed. And I guess that is now a matter for the courts, at least in one case. So let's see comments, what people have to say. I'd still like to know which teacher was sexually harassing students, who is getting covered up. That's right, name and shame. I still don't know if these names were ever officially released. It says, she did not mention this, but Idahoans, please contact your politicians. I work at a school. My dad is a teacher, then an admin. Trust me, you need your Congress people on board. So if you are concerned about this and you live in Idaho, maybe consider getting educated and getting loud. And if you don't live in Idaho, maybe consider doing some of your own independent research, looking into things, and making sure that if you have children in a school, the school has proper protocols and standards in place to protect those students and to help them if the unthinkable should somehow happen, which it shouldn't, to be clear, because schools and any institution or organization that interacts with children should have this stuff already in place. It should just be automatic. But again, that's not the kind of world that we live in. This person 2 years ago, they said this school district is rife with this shit. Between this, the social worker, and the teacher at Fairmont, the last 2 school years have been crazy. I guess I'm wondering if it's just this school district, this state, or a systemic issue. That's my biggest concern too. So let's see, there's this post here, and I think this is the last one. I got some of my earlier articles that we read from this post. So this is 3 years older, 3 years old, a year older than the post I just looked at. Are your kids in the Boise School District? You might want to follow this story. Former Fairmont Junior High School principal Chris Ryan accused of failing for months to report suspected abuse of minors as is required by district policy. Idaho state law and Title IX. After the school's own internal investigation cleared him, they moved him to a consult admin position at district office. Now he's facing criminal charges for his alleged inaction of protecting children in his care. Just so happens that Scott Crandall, the person alleged to have had inappropriate interactions with minors, killed himself the day after the police confiscated his phone. I don't know that that is correct. I think they mean the Snow fellow, because in the news articles that we were reading, it was, let me see, I'll find it and pull it up again. Gavin Snow. So that might be a typo on the OP's part. Let's see. Oh, good. Someone started up a leaf blower outside. That's great. I hope you cannot hear it. Let's see. Chris Ryan was my junior year history teacher at Capitol, and Richard Pines was, at Capitol, and Richard Pines was my psychiatrist and my best friend's adoptive dad. I practically grew up under his roof. This hits way too close to home. Oftentimes, the people who will hurt your kids are the ones closest to you. We have to stop being concerned and distracted by issues and people that have nothing to do with our children and start keeping an eye on the things that do. There's usually something evil in your own backyard. And I agree, and that is true, and I am sorry if this is the first time that you are hearing it. But that is, again, why I say, regardless of whether or not you're in Idaho or not, maybe it's time to do some independent research. Maybe it's time to look into what's being done for the children in your state, how they're being protected, how the schools in your district, at the very least, are handling shit like this, because it's important. This person said, yikes, Chris Ryan was a history teacher at Capitol. When I went there, I never had him, but he was one of the cool ones that all the kids who did have him loved. Bummer to hear he is apparently a shitty person. This is another person that said he was such a fun guy. Hate that he hid his shittiness so well. This person said he was my favorite teacher at Capitol. There was a time in his class when he had stepped out into the hallway. I loudly cussed out a kid who was actively bullying another student with autism, and when I turned around to see Mr. Ryan standing there, I cringed, thinking that I was going to get in trouble. Instead, he told the other kid to get out of his classroom and threw me a smirk before starting the history lesson. Apparently, since then, he's forgotten that you're not supposed to protect people who are hurting other people. I met him on several occasions, one-on-one for bullying happening to my child, and he brushed it off every time, never did anything about it. He may have been good at one point, but my experience with him showed me different. Well, it's pretty par for course. This person said administration doesn't seem to report many infractions that they should. Drug use for one at RHS in Meridian, underage porn photos were another that absolutely were to have been reported to MPD. None were reported. I really wonder why these potential crimes were not reported. So this is all alleged. Of course, this person is saying, I don't know this for a fact. This is just somebody online. But everything that I'm reading indicates to me that there is a history of past behavior. There is a sort of a history with some of these individuals. These people's names are known and recognized, and I didn't get a chance to dig into it as much in this video, but I remember in the interview with Laura Bolton, she talks about some of the family names that are in the Boise School District and like in Boise in general that are kind of running things a little bit, allegedly, because they've been around for a long time. Their families have been here for a long time. They've kind of got that legacy impact, you know, and they apparently allegedly utilize that to their advantage. Allegedly. Again, I don't know 100% if this is all true. Everything that I am saying and everything that we've read is obviously alleged until something is proven by a court of law. But, you know, I don't think we necessarily need to have a conviction or someone in prison to start paying attention to the environments that our children are in, to start paying attention to the people who are around them, why they are there, what their motivations might be. I don't think that it's a bad thing to heavily question people who want to work with children. Children, they're our future. They're the future of the world. They are everything in terms of our human race, right? And so the type of childhood that they have, the environments that they are raised in, that's going to dictate the kind of lives that they have as adults. And being exposed to incredibly toxic, dangerous situations like this is what creates generational trauma. One of the things, one of the many that can create the type of generational trauma that rocks societies and ruins lives decades and decades later. So I know this is a little rough. It's very different from what I normally do. I just really felt like I should talk about this. Ever since I found out about it a couple of weeks ago, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, and I just think that it's something that more people should know about, because this is not really something that I've seen getting discussed. And I think that that might need to change. I think that we just need to start having some very tough conversations. And I get that it's uncomfortable, and I get that people don't always like it, but we're talking about the most vulnerable, innocent lives amongst us, the lives of children. And if they are not worth protecting, then what is? So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for now. If you are interested in reading more, like I said, you can find all of my sources linked down in the description of this video. Let me know what you think about this, especially if you already knew about this or you have some familiarity with it. I'm just interested to hear your thoughts and your take on the entire thing. You know, I don't have children myself, and I don't ever plan to, but I am a big sister, and that sense of responsibility and that duty to care is still very deeply ingrained into me, even as an adult with adult siblings. I want to protect and care for and serve the innocent, because those are the lives that are the most important. It's our, again, I keep coming back to it, but children's lives, children are the future, and it sounds so tired and cliche, but it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. So yeah, this is where I'm going to leave this for now. Let me know your thoughts. Socials and everything else are down below. If you want to connect, there are a variety of ways that you can support. You've seen a little blurb about my Substack a couple of times now, but you can also buy me a coffee if you would like to, or send me a super chat. Just liking and leaving a comment go a really long way, and I am very appreciative for each of you for being here, for listening to me, and for caring as much as I do. It feels comforting to know that at the very least I can talk about these issues, present them here on my channel, and be able to at least connect with some like-minded people who do feel similarly. So thank you very much for that, and I hope to have another video for you guys very soon. But in the meantime, just remember, no lite te bastardes carborundorum. Don't let the bastards drag you down.